Are the prayers of love and faith being delayed by theology? Hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Rev Dan. I'm a vicar in the Church of England. On this channel, get on my views as a parish priest on all the Christian news happening in the world today. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below, share it, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. So the prayers of love and faith package is being delayed. The House of Bishops met this week and they have put out a statement where they are saying it's now not going to come to the January synod, but it's going to come perhaps next year. We don't know. I'm going to get into that into the video. So they met on the 20th on Monday, and they said in a statement that the House of Bishops met in person for its first meeting of the new year in London. Look at them, get to go to London. The House reviewed detailed updates from the Living in Love and Faith, LLF, working groups presented by Bishop Martin Snow. After considered reflection on the complexity and depth of the proposed changes, it became clear that bishops with views across the range of different perspectives agreed that it was unlikely all elements of the proposals would be sufficiently developed in time for Synod to make a decision. So that's a huge statement. So the timetable, again, once it's slipped, and we expect this to, it has since its implementation, things have slipped. There's a lot of work going into this. And as I said in previous videos, it would have been far better to come with a whole package of what is being proposed rather than a kind of piecemeal approach, which has tripped the General Synod up more than once when they were stood there asking for the theological work or the legal work to be seen so they can make an informed decision. And some of the votes were voted on without the General Synod seeing all of the work that was being done fully in front of them. If you think about it, it's quite mad, isn't it, that you can vote on something without seeing all of the work. But that's, in a sense, what's happened. And this is why we got to this process at this point where the House of Bishops are now saying we're going to have to delay this so they can get all the work done. So that in one way, that's a really good thing. That to make an informed decision, the General Synod need to see all of the work, but a lot of the work is being done by the Faith and Order Commission, and they are looking at the theology really of it, and there's a lot to go through across the different aspects. So really what's being looked at is the prayers of love and faith standalone services, the pastoral reassurance or assurance for the clergy, whether they would want to do it, that they are safe to do blessings, or those of us who don't want to do it, whether and we get assurance of it, that's okay as well. And clergy entering into same-sex civil marriages. That's really what's the theology is being done. And that's what they are looking into. So that's a lot of piece of work. There's a lot of work to go into. They have got working groups looking at different things, but the Faith and Order Commission are a group, and they've been asked to look at all these different areas, and they're not all going to agree as well. So perhaps also leading to this delay. But it's interesting in the statement, we don't get much of this in the statements. That, you know, they're kind of in one way very general, and you don't get the detail of what was said. And I don't think we'll see minutes or anything from the House of Bishops, even though that's been requested. They keep it very private, but we can read into what we can through this statement, and saying after considered reflection on the complexity and depth of the proposed changes. So they're acknowledging, remember, it was really the House of Bishops who, when you looked at the voting record, the laity and the clergy were relatively close, but the House of Bishops was always voting majority in favour. But now the House of Bishops are coming together and recognising there's, after considered reflection, the complexity and depth of the proposed changes. And it's become clear that bishops with views across the range of the different perspectives, agreed that it was unlikely that all elements of the proposals would be sufficiently developed in time for Synod to make decisions in July, which is, like I just said, it is really good, because this is going forward. This is going to happen, to be voted on. I didn't think there'd be a vote, but it seems like there is going to be a vote. The vote had happened, and this was just update on what was going to happen, but now seems in these statements that there is going to be a vote, that they can't take this to General Synod in July to say fully vote on this. So it's good that they've learned from the past and what was said from the floor of General Synod. So it goes on to say they agreed to extend the timetable to ensure that all elements of the proposals are sufficiently developed for a decision to be taken on them as a whole, which I've just said. The intention is still to update General Synod in February and bring further proposals to General Synod in July. But it is likely these will not be able to be formally put to a vote until a subsequent synod. This will give further time for consultations with diocesan synods and other networks. So there are proposals going to come to General Synod. What they might be, we do not yet know, because this is coming from the House of Bishops. And we will have to wait for the papers to be produced for the General Synod in July. We might get a bit in the update in February, but we'll just have to wait and see. But it is unlikely these will not be able to be formally put to a vote until a subsequent synod. Now, synods, there are 3 penciled in for the year, but there's one in February, one in July, and one, if needed, in November. Now, the one in November happened, 2 years ago. They did have an extra synod, but they generally don't have them unless they see this as really important and have an extra synod. But it's a huge cost to synod to putting it on. So will they just wait until the following February? So we could be in a year's time waiting for this to be fully developed, and it would give people more time to do their work and to do it diligently and prayerfully as well, and not rush through, in a sense, as it has already felt, like I said, voting for things when the work hasn't been fully done. It just didn't seem right. So I think, waiting until the next synod, which potentially could be February next year to vote on this, would be the right thing to do. They could have it in November, but remember, we're waiting for a new Archbishop of Canterbury. We do think that will be in autumn. And say they announce an Archbishop of Canterbury in October, the first major thing they're really overseeing would be this. And that's a big thing to ask them to do. So maybe just timeline wise as well is to get an Archbishop in September, October, November, and then bring all this next year to a new synod in February to vote on this. But just to add to the mixture as well, this synod, which sits for 5 years, finishes in August 2026. There'll be votes for a new synod next year, and that will be, it'll just be a synod based on will you vote this through or won't you vote this through, rather than get the right people to get on General Synod to do all the work of General Synod, all those complicated things that they speak about, rather than this kind of, in a sense, you call it a one-trick pony. Will you vote for it? Won't you vote for it? We don't want to get people on there just because of the theological stance on this, and once this is done with, once we start dealing with things like pensions and buildings and safeguarding, they've got no expertise, because the clergy vote for the clergy, the laity vote for the laity, the bishops are there by their right of being a bishop. But we want people to go on General Synod who are rounded in all these different aspects of church life, to be there on merit, rather than let's just get you in because you're going to vote it through or not. So that could add into this. So when will all this come? We don't know. Like I said, it could be November, might not be the ideal date for the new Archbishop of Canterbury. And will all the work be done by November as well? Will all the work that needs to be done, and the full package brought for November Synod. The cost as well of putting on an extra General Synod is quite immense for the church. Will that happen? We will have to wait and see. Nobody knows. Or is this so important that they want to get it through? Like I said, we wait and see. And so just to bring this in, because the Making report was hugely important, they also discussed the continual actions of being undertaken in response to the Making review, and the proposals of an independent safeguarding and the revised clergy conduct measure being brought to General Synod in February. The Archbishop of York and the Bishop of London discussed the importance of increased transparency, accountability and responsibility, and the opportunities offered by the proposals being brought to Synod. What's going to be interesting at the February General Synod is the reaction to the Archbishop of York, obviously with what happened with David Tudor, a vicar, under him while he was Bishop of Chelmsford, which I spoke about in different videos. You can watch a video here to catch up on that. And across the divide, theologically, both Conservatives and Liberals are not happy with how that is dealt with. So he will, I can only assume, do the presidential address. How he will be received is we'll wait to be seen. I don't think it will be a warm welcome in some ways by General Synod, but we will, like I said, we'll wait and see. In a lengthy and detailed discussion about the challenges faced, the House acknowledged the work that still needed to be done and looked forward to meeting other Episcopal colleagues imminently to work on this further. Bishop Sarah ended the discussion reflecting that those in the Church are a people of hope who have the appetite for the work to be done. So that's talking about the House of Bishops and the College of Bishops, and the College of Bishops are basically all the bishops who are not in the House of Bishops, and they're working on the LLF as well. So there's not much there, but enough to know that we will not be seeing standalone same-sex blessings being voted on in July. The proposal for clergy to be allowed to marry in same-sex civil unions, and the pastoral reassurance, or the provision for different episcopal oversight being allowed to happen as well. So there's an update for you. Just waiting to see now what they will say at the February Synod. I know that there were meetings after with different groups who were interested from both the theological divides after the House of Bishops meeting, which I'll bring to you in another video. But it seems like I said at the beginning, theology has slowed down the prayers of love of faith process. Who knew?